Hi po ma'am, and good day po. I am presenting the topic about the topic of bureaucracy and rationalization. Bureaucracy and rationalizations, Weber's theory of bureaucracy, critics and dysfunctions, power and authority in organizations, and legitimate authority typology. So, the introduction po. So, bureaucracy remains one of the most dominant organizational forms in modern societies. Max Weber, a foundational figure in sociology, analyzed bureaucracy as the most rational and efficient structures for large-scale organizations. His theory continues to, to influence public administration, political science, management, and organizational studies. However, despite its strengths, bureaucracy also exhibits dysfunctions, limitations, and power struggles that challenge its rationalizations. So, this paper of Max Weber's discusses about Weber's theory of bureaucracy, critics and dysfunctions of bureaucratic systems, the nature of power and authority in organizations, and Weber's typology of legitimate authority. It also examines how organizational politics and power dynamics shape institutions and influence decision making. So, ang sabi po ni Max Weber po, ang bureaucracy is the most rational and efficient form of organizations. Ito yung sistema na ginagamit ng government agencies, universities, hospitals, and large corporations. Pero kahit rational, bureaucracy also has many criticisms po and dysfunctions. Kaya ang presentation ko po ay balance po. So ano ang strengths, ano ang weakness, at paano pumapasok ang power, ang authority, at ang organizational politics. So next po is the Weber's theory of bureaucracy. So Max Weber viewed bureaucracy as a product of rationalizations, transitions towards systematic, predictable, role-based administration. He believed that bureaucracies operate according to principles of hierarchy, specialization, merit-based hiring, and standard operating procedures. So, according po sa kanya, however, bureaucracy operates through hierarchy, specialization, rules, and merit-based recruitment. So, bali po ang bureaucracy, may malinaw na meron pong chain of command. May divisions of labor. May rules na sinusunod at dapat competence-based ang hiring. So, ang goal nito is predictability, stability, and efficiency. So these are the key features po. The hierarchy of authority, divisions of labor, formal rules and procedures, merit-based recruitment, and impersonality. So, what is hierarchy of authority? So, it means it is the clear chain of command. So, hierarchy of authority refers to the structure, system of superordinations and subordination, in which positions are ranked from higher to lower levels, and each lower level is under the control of supervision of the higher one. So, the Max theory of bureaucracy, hierarchy ensures clear lines of command, accountability, responsibility within an organization. So, hierarchy of authority means that an organization has a clear chain of command. So, may malinaw po kung sino po ang boss, sino ang supervisor, at sino ang subordinate. So, yun po ang chain of command. Yung by level. May level yung director, yung may president, vice president, and then the directors, and then after that is yung mga staff po nila. So, each position has defined authority and responsibility. Authority and responsibility. And every lower office is accountable to the higher one. According to Weber, this structure helps avoid confusion, duplication of work, and conflict because everyone knows the rule and kung kanino sila magre-report. So for example, sa government office, in a government agency, halimbawa, the department secretary is the top. followed by the undersecretaries, bureau directors, division chiefs, and then rank and file employees. So each level po has authority over the level below it, and instructions followed downward while reports flow upward. So ganun po. Yung sa taas, pababa sila kasi tinitingnan nila yung mga subordinates nila, yung mga tao nila. Yung sa baba po, pataas din po kasi doon po sila rumeport sa mga matataas po sa kanila. Ayun po ang minimin po ni Weber. So next is the division of labor. So the divisions of labor means it is the tasks are specialized and professionally assigned. So the division of labor, it refers to the systematic allocation of specific tasks and responsibilities to a specialized positions within organizations to increase efficiency and expertise. So the division of labor po means that work is divided into a specific task and each employee has a special role. So hindi lahat na ginagawa ng isang tao ay ang bawat isa po ay may naka-assign na trabaho based sa ilang skills at position. So according to Weber, specialization improves efficiency and professionalism because people become experts in their own task. Yan po for example, in the government office, in the government agency, meron pong HR officer, finance officer, legal officer, and operation officer. So meron po siyang divisions of labor. For example, sa HR, anong trabaho niya? Minimonitor niya po yung mga empleyado. Yung finance officer, minumonitor po yung finance ng opisina. O anong ilang budget po ng office. Yung operation, minumonitor po yung sa field po. Yun po yung division of labor. Meron po silang sariling task. So, yun po. So, meaning to say po, each one focuses only on their specific function. So, yun po, kung anong trabaho mo as a cashier, yun lang po talaga yung trabaho mo. Kung ikaw, budget officer, gawin mo yung trabaho mo as a budget officer. Hindi ka pwede, as a budget officer, ginagawa mo yung trabaho ng cashier. Yun po ang division of labor. So, next is the formal rules and procedures. Formal rules and procedures is the impersonal guidelines ensure uniformity. So, the formal rules and procedures are written regulations that govern decision-making, behavior, and operations to ensure consistency and uniformity within an organization. So, ang formal rules and procedures po, meaning that ang actions and decisions are guided by written policies and regulations. So, meron po tayong mga handbook, manual, standard operating procedures na sinusunod ng lahat. So, this ensures consistency and fairness because decisions are not based on personal preference. For example po, sa government din, ang permit applications follow at standard process regardless who applies. So, in a workplace, for example din, in a workplace, the employees follow in the written attendance, leave, and disciplinary policies. So, next is the merit-based recruitment, which means it is the competence and qualifications determine hiring. So, ang merit-based recruitment, it refers to the hiring and promotion based on the qualification, competence, educations, and performance rather than personal connections or favoritism. So, ang merit-based recruitment po, meaning to say, ang employees po are selected based sa kanilang qualifications and sa kanilang trabaho, sa ilang performance, and sa kanilang competence. Sa madaling salita po, hindi dapat palakasan dito or padrino system po dito. Wala po yan. So, Weber believe this promotes professionalism and fairness in organizations po. So, yun po. Ang merit-based recruitment po ay, siyempre, kung malaki po yung pinag-aralan mo, meron po yung eligibility, or PRC license po kayo, so you are qualified po na ma-hire. Wala pong, unlike po kung sa padrino system, kahit ikaw pa po cum laude, kung sa padrino system may malakas ka, ikaw po yung kinukuha ka niya. Kahit po you are not qualified, na yung kakumpetensya mo na doon sa isang position is qualified, hindi niya kinuha kasi mas malakas ka doon kasi meron kang backer. Pero unlike po dito sa merit-based recruitment, wala pong padrino system. kung qualified ka po, yun po, you are hired because you are qualified, meron kang eligibility na you are a college graduate po. So, next po is the impersonality. Impersonality po is the decision based on rules, not personal relationship. So, it refers to the decision making based on objective rules rather than personal feelings, relationship, or emotions. So, ang impersonality po, it means that decisions are made objectively, not emotionally or personally. Kahit kakilala mo ang isang tao, rules pa rin ang masusunod. This prevents bias, favoritism, ensuring equal treatment. Di ba? Meron ding minsan sa pag pumupunta ka ng GSIS kasi gusto mong mag-loan, na hinahanap mo kung sinong kakilala mo, pero yung kakilala mo, tinatanggihan ka niya kasi meron tayong rules. Yun po. So, next po is the critics, dysfunctions, and bureaucracy. So, si Weber po, he argued that bureaucracy ensures efficiency, predictability, stability, and rational decision making, which makes it ideal for modern governance. When we say efficiency, it means that tasks are completed faster and more systematically because roles are clearly defined and work is divided among specialists. Walang overlapping na trabaho kaya mas mabilis ang proseso. Predictability means that outcomes are consistent dahil may formal rules and procedures. Alam ng tao kung ano ang mangyayari sa bawat proseso. Hindi siya pabago-bago o depende sa mood ng decision maker. Stability refers to the continuity of the organization. Kahit magalit ang leadership, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang operation dahil ang sistema ang sinusunod, hindi ang personalidad ng leader. Finally, rational decision making means that decisions are based on laws, rules, and objective criteria rather than personal emotions, favoritism, or tradition. Because of these features po, Weber believed that bureaucracy is the most suitable organizational form for modern governance, especially in large and complex societies. So, ito po, next po tayo is the critics, dysfunctions, and bureaucracy. So, despite its strengths, bureaucracy has been widely criticized. So, meaning to say po, ang critics and dysfunctions of bureaucracy refers to the negative consequences and limitations that arise when bureaucratic structures become overly rigid, rule-bound, impersonal, and resistant to change, thereby undermining efficiency, responsiveness, and human relations within organizations. So, although Weber viewed bureaucracy as the most rational form of organization, many scholars point out that it also has critics and dysfunctions. So, dysfunctions happen when the very rules and structures meant to promote efficiency actually create problems. So, imbes na makatulong siya sa sistema, minsan magiging hadlang pa ang sobrang bureaucracy. So, these are the types of the critics and dysfunctions of bureaucracy. The red tape and inefficiency. Number 1. Number 2 is the impersonal alienation. Number 2 is the goal displacement. And the 4 is the bureaucratic inertia. So, red tape and inefficiency. It is the excessive rules can slow processes, creating rigid and inefficient system. So, red tape refers to excessive, rigid, and unnecessary rules, procedures, and documentation requirements that delay decision-making and service delivery. Inefficiency, it is occurs when organizational processes consume excessive time, effort, or resources without producing proportional results, often as consequence of red tape. So red tape happens when there are too many rules, procedures that are no longer necessary. So, imbes na mapabilis ang trabaho po, lalo po itong bumabagal dahil kailangan dumaan sa maraming approvals forms of step. For example, no, kung mag-loan po kayo, di ba? Mag-loan kayo. So, So, first po is, ang first step number 1, ganito, may form. Step number 2, pirma kay direktor mo. Step number 3, pirma kay ganito. Step 4, pirma kay president. Pagkatapos, ibalik mo naman sa GSIS. Pagkatapos, itingnan nila kung meron pang kulang o hindi. Kung meron pang kulang, balik ka na naman. Kung kumpleto, okay, pirma. So, mag-waiting ka ng for approval. Kaya, yun po, ang red tape happens when there's too many rules, procedures that are no longer necessary. Pwede naman ka, pirma mo, tos director, pirma, di ba agad? Kasi yung marami pang pinupuntahan na pirmahan pa. So, next is the, wait lang. As a result po, inefficiency occurs because time and resources are wasted on compliance rather than actual service delivery. So, why red tape causes inefficiency? So, red tape causes inefficiency because employees focus more on the following procedures rather than achieving results. Decision-making becomes slow, innovation is discouraged, and clients or citizens experience delays in services. O, di ba? So, kahit yung simple lang na processing, na, for example po, yung paggawa ng passport, magkukuha ng passport, number 1 po is appointment. Ini-schedule nila. Imbes na kunin mo dapat tomorrow, ini-schedule pa kanila. After schedule, pumunta ka doon. Mayroon mga requirements, ganito, ganun. Oh, di ba? Bakit na lang hindi one valid ID na lang ang kailangan? Kasi marami pang mga kailangan pang mga papers na ipakita mo pa sa kanila. After that, tinitingnan pa nila. Kaya nadidelay dapat, di ba? Yan yung meaning ng red tape, why red tape causes inefficiency. So, number 2 po is the impersonality and alienation. Impersonality and alienation is the impersonal structures may dehumanize employees and clients. So, impersonality refers to a decision-making based strictly on rules and procedure rather than personal relationships or emotions. And alienation occurs when individuals feel detached, unvalued, or dehumanized within organizations as a result of excessive impersonality. So, ang impersonality in bureaucracy means that decisions are made objectively based on rules, not personal feelings. However, when take to the extreme, the impersonality can lead to alienation. So, ang pakiramdam po ng empleyado po or ang clients ay parang number lang sila sa sistema, hindi tao. So, yun po siya, yung impersonal alienation. So, next is the goal displacement. So, the goal displacement is the employees focusing on following rules rather than achieving organizational goals. So, the goal displacement occurs when adherence rules and procedures becomes more important than achieving the original goals of organizations. So, ang goal displacement po happens when employees focus more on the following rules rather than fulfilling organization's real purpose. So, mas inuna na po lang proseso kaysa resulta ko. So, ito po ay parang same din sila lahat po. Ano? So, yung bureaucracy inertia, it is the organization become resistant to change even when the change is necessary. Yun po. So, ang bureaucratic inertia, it refers to the tendency of bureaucratic organization to resist change and maintain existing structure, rules, and procedures, even when these are no longer effective or relevant. It occurs because routines become institutionalized, authority is rigid, and risk-taking is discouraged. So, bureaucratic inertia po means resistance to change within organizations. Kahit malinaw na kailangan ng reform or innovation, nananatili pa rin sa lumang sistemang bureaucracy. This happens because employees are accustomed to the routines, leaders avoid rest, and changing rules requires lengthy approval processes. So, yan po, no, parang same lang nila, parang nadidili po yung process talaga. Dahil po sa rules po ng opisina nila. Kaya yun po, ito po yung types ng critics, dysfunctions, and bureaucracy. So, next po is the power and authority in organization. So, the power refers to the ability to influence behavior, decisions, or resources. The authority refers to the legitimate and accepted power within an organization. So the power and authority sa organizations ay hindi lang rules ang nag-operate. May politics din, of course. Power kasi. Basta politics, meron na talagang power. At saka, parang connection yung power at authority when it comes sa politics. Power can come from positions, expertise, access to information, or even relationship. So, kahit nasa formal structure tayo, may mga informal power plays talaga sa loob. Alliances and networking, favoritism, at resource control kaya nagiging political arena ng organization. For example, may kukuha ka din ng loan. For example, sa GSIS, napakataas ng pila. For example, numbers. Meron kang pinsan na doon sa loob, nagtatrabaho sa GSIS. Pinuntak mo ng pinsan mo. Pinsan, nandito ako. So yung pinsan na pinuntak niya na ikaw yung nauna. Instead na meron pang nauna sa'yo. Kasi dahil sa pinsan mo, nauna yung process sa'yo. Di ba? Yan yung power and authority. So which is, yan yung talagang sistema natin. So these are the sources of power. The formal authority, expert power, referent power, resource control, and network and alliances. So what is formal authority? It is the position in hierarchy. Formal authority refers to the legitimate power granted to an individual by virtue of their officially recognized position within organization. It is derived from organization rules, laws, and hierarchical structures rather than personal traits. In the Weberian bureaucracy, formal authority is the core element, rational legal authority. So, the formal authority means it is the power that comes from one's position in organizations. Talagang may kapangyarihan po ang isang tao, hindi dahil sa personalidad niya, kundi dahil sa posisyon na hawak niya. For example, ang manager can give instructions not because of personal influence, but because the role itself, it's recognized by organization rules. So, di ba? Kung for example, formal authority, for example, here in the Mindanao State University, si President, kung ano talaga yung instruct niya, talagang pina-follow po natin. Di ba? So next is the expert power. Expert power is the specialized knowledge. So, expert power refers to the influence that arises from a person's specialized knowledge, skills, or expertise in a particular area. Unlike formal authority, expert power does not come from position, hierarchy, rules, but from recognized competence. So, ang expert power po is influence a person has because of their special knowledge or skills. Kahit hindi sila boss, may formal authority sila, pinapakinggan sila dahil alam niya ang ginagawa niya at may kredibilidad siya sa area na yan. So, ang sample ko dito ay yung, for example, ikaw yung boss, dahil hindi niya alam kung anong budget ng emisyo. So, sino yung expertise doon? So, tinatawag niyo yung mga financier. Finance office, for example, yung budget, halika. Doon niya, tinatanong niya kung anong budget, ilang i-budget dito, budget doon, di ba? So, yan yung expert power. For example, yung designing ng bahay. Kahit president ka pa, hindi ka marunong mag-design ng bahay, sinong pinupuntahan mo? Di ba? Either engineer or yung architect. Kasi yun yung expertise nila. So, next is the referent power. Referent power is the charisma, respect. So, referent power is the influence a person has because others admire, respect, or identity with them. It is derived from the personal traits, charisma, or the ability to inspire loyalty, rather than from formal position, expertise, rules. So the referent power is when someone can influence other personnel because they are respected or admired. Kahit wala silang formal authority or technical expertise, pinapakinggan pa rin sila at sinusunod ng ibang ng iba dahil gusto nilang maging like them or they trust and respect that person. This type of power is often like to charisma, personality, or the ability to build strong relationship. So, ito pong referent power, no? Ito po yung kahit wala ka pong position po sa office niyo, kahit maliit po yung position sa office niyo, for example, ako po yung director, pero ma-influensya po yung parents niyo, si tatay mo, mayor, yung bloodlines nyo, lahat politics, siyempre, pinapakinggan ka dahil yun, nirespekto ka dahil doon. Ano yun, mayroong mga credibilities na nagawa mo, pero malit yung position mo pa rin, pero pinapakinggan pa rin ng boss mo dahil doon sa mga nagawa mo. Yun po yung referent power. At saka, for example, minsan din, yung charisma, for example, ikaw na, for example, ako po ay pangit, kahit po ng advice po, hindi po ako pinapakinggan dahil wala pong charismatic. Doon po sila nakikinig po sa gwapo dahil, siyempre, may charisma po siya. Yun po yung referent power. So, why referent power is important? Referent power is important because it motivates people to follow voluntarily. People comply not because they have to, kundi because they respect or admire that person. It builds loyalty, trust, and cooperation with organization. So, ito pa po, sources of power, itong resource of control, it is access to the funding or information. The next is the network and alliances. It is the political ties within organization. Ang network and alliances po ay, for example, ako po ay mayor. Meron po akong pinsan na gusto ko pong i-apply kay president sa MSU. So, si president naman po, hindi po niya ako matatanggihan kasi po, ako po ay mayor. So, in-appoint niya, hiner niya yung pinsan ko, and then, si president din, meron akong utang na loob sa kanya na dapat ko ding bayaran. For example, meron din siyang tauhan na gusto din niyang i-apply para sa akin para ganun din yung political ties within the organization. So, next po is the Weber's typology of legitimate authority. So, Weber identified 3 types of legitimate authority, which explain why people accept power and obey leaders in organizations and society. So, legitimate authority is authority recognized as right or proper by members of an organization or society as opposed to coercive power. So, Weber said that people obey authority not only because of force, but because they perceive it as a legitimate. So, sinasabi po ni Weber, ang kapangyarihan ay tinatanggap ng tao kung ito ay tama o valid sa kanilang pananaw. He categorized legitimate authority into 3 types. These are the traditional authority, charismatic authority, and the rational legal authority. So, the traditional authority is based on custom, traditions, and heritage position. For example, the monarchs, the tribal leaders, yun. The charismatic authority, it is derived from the individual's personal magnetism of heroism. Examples, the revolutionary leaders, religious figures, for example, sina Norme Suari, ganon, sina religious figures, yung mga pope po natin, yun, sina Cardinal Sin, mga ganon po, yung mga kuwan po. Yung rational legal authority based on laws, rules, and formal system. Core of bureaucracy, example, the government official, administration, modern institution. So, ito, government officials like yung president, vice president, administrators, yung mga cabinet secretary po, yun po ang rational legal authority. So next po is the organizational politics and power dynamics. So, The organizational politics refers to the informal, strategic, and sometimes self-serving actions by individuals or groups within an organization to acquire, maintain, or influence power and resource. The power dynamics, ito po, power dynamics refers to how power is distributed, exercised, and contested within an organization's influencing decision, behavior, and outcomes. So, organizational politics happens when the people use influence and strategy to achieve goals, sometimes beyond formal authority. Kahit may nakalagay na rules po or hierarchy, may mga informal strategies ang tao para maabot ng kanilang objectives like gaining promotion, controlling information, or formal alliances. Now, for example, ano yun? Mag-promote po ako ng position ko po dito sa MSU. Paano ko po yung mag-gain? So, ito po yung tactics, no? Tactics ng power dynamics po. Hanap po ako ng ma-influential po na tao na hindi po matatanggihan po ni President para po makuha ko yung promotion. For example, meron siyang close na mayor. Doon po ako pupunta kang mayor, which is di naman matatanggihan ni President. Para maging ako ng recommendation, ibigay ko President para ma-approve niya. It's because kay mayor. Yun po siya. So ang power dynamics po is it shows how authority, expertise, and personal influence interact, shaping decision making and resource allocations organization. So these are the common political behaviors: the building alliances, controlling information, negotiating and bargaining, lobbying key decision makers, and maneuvering for promotions and resources. So ang power dynamics po can lead to conflict, favoritism, or inequality, but also innovation and problem solving when managed effectively. So, conclusion. The Weber's theory remains central in understanding modern organizations. While bureaucracy offers rationality and structure, it also creates dysfunctions that challenge organizational effectiveness. Power, authority, and politics shape how institutions operate, demonstrating that organizations are not merely formal systems, but complex social environments. Understanding these dynamics is essential for leaders, administrators, and scholars in navigating and improving modern bureaucratic institutions. So, to conclude, Weber's bureaucracy is foundational for modern organizations, but it is not perfect. It provides structures and rationality, pero may dysfunctions din tulad ng red tape, inefficiency, or resistance to change. Ang power, authority, and politics also shape organizational truly functions. Kaya dapat ang leaders po ay marunong mag-navigate sa formal rules and informal dynamics. So, yun po yung report ko. So, thank you po ma'am. God bless, and that's all po ma'am. Thank you po.